Hey my lovelies, I hope you're all safe and well. It's Mitch here. I just wanted to come on and do sort of a little bit of a waffle video really. But I wanted to talk about a few things that keep cropping up, which I think are really important, just in terms of like safeguarding. So I feel like safeguarding if you are like a client going to have a reading with somebody, not necessarily just with me, but in general, and safeguarding if you're a reader as well, because responsibility, moral compass is so important. And lately I am just hearing some horror stories that are absolutely making my heckles go up. So what I basically want to say, what I'm going to title this video as, don't accept bullshit. Whether you're a reader reading for a client, don't accept bullshit. Whether you're a client receiving a reading from a reader, don't accept bullshit. Because spirit readings in general, whether it's tarot, whether it's mediumship, whether it's healing, what it is, it should all be about enrichment. It should all be about fulfillment of self, fulfillment of magic, the opportunities to leave you feeling empowered, enlightened, or just confirmations and validations of what you already know. But they shouldn't be leaving you feeling kind of cautious or caught up in a state of fear or anxiety, or leaving you feel more detrimental than when you first had a session. And I had an experience yesterday. I'm going to be very careful how I sort of talk about this and how I word this and everything, but I do think it's important because it's really not sat well with me as a reader. So yesterday when I was in Martok, I had a session with a lady, beautiful client, beautiful soul, and she was living in real fear and in real anxiety because she'd been told she'd had a session with somebody, a reader, on a WhatsApp appointment. Nothing wrong with that. WhatsApp, that's the way that I do readings. That's one of the ways that I work. No issue there. But this reader had told her that, she's got like 6 months to live. And apparently that message was being channeled via this lady's mum who was in spirit. And this poor lady, she was just living in fear, anxiety, and just complete overwhelmment. And this reader had gone on to say, you'll get validation when your time is coming because you'll see two robins together somewhere. And I was just like, really? Now let's look at this whole scenario. First of all, the connection with the lady and with her mum who was in spirit, they were very close. They were like best friends. So it's not logical that somebody that loved you that much would want to even put that level of fear or worry or anxiety onto you. I honestly feel as a reader, we do not have clairvoyant access to death. I think that we can be shown snippets and we can be shown pieces, but I honestly feel it's something that we do not have full clairvoyant access to, because the pathway is always changing, it's always evolving. Our free will is evolving and changing things constantly. So, sometimes when we're shown death, it doesn't mean death at all. It might be some kind of change that we've made. So it's a very grey area. And I am of the belief system that spirit are all about love. They're about empowerment. So telling somebody that they've got 6 months to live, what's the benefit? Where's the love? What empowerment does that bring to that lady's life? It does nothing. In the sense of robins, of course, as we know, robins do tend to be a way that spirit will work with us. So they can absolutely be gifts, messengers, reaffirmations that our loved ones are nearby. 100%. We all know the saying, robins appear when our loved ones are near. However, this lady, I think she said she was in like a garden centre or like a cafe at the time when she saw these two robins. And let's look at this logistically. First of all, you're in a garden centre. Very often they're set up to really enhance nature. So, often there's beautiful trees, you often get bird feeders around. We're in sort of autumn, getting into that crossover shortly into winter. This is robin season. Do you know what I mean? So it's very likely that you may start to see robins this time of year. And so to sort of say that's a sign or an acknowledgement that, you're going to be tapping out and the Grim Reaper's going to be coming for you, it just pisses me off, because it's absolute bullshit. And I see this as a reader trying to hook in. They're trying to create hooks. What they're trying to do is create that fear, and it's their own ego. They're trying to create a situation where they're hoping that you're going to come back to them because you're going to need the next installment because you haven't sort of, died in that time frame or whatever. There's more chance that you may book back in because you want the next chapter, you want the next installment. And for me, it's absolute bullshit. I do not feel like Spirit would tell anything like that in a detrimental way. I just don't think that they would. So I had to really do some healing yesterday with this lady to sort of like, reprogram sort of some stuff. And, her mum was coming in and telling me stuff. And I think the other thing is, as a medium, yes, we can channel, yes, we can get pieces of information, but I can never know your mum like you know your mum. If I get someone's dad coming in, I can never know your dad like you knew your dad. Just because they're channeling and giving me pieces of information, a medium can never take away the love, the connection, the depth of what you know that person to be. And I think that's really important to talk about, because I think sometimes people have, clients put this expectation on us that as a medium, we know everything, we have this X-ray vision, and we don't. We do not have that level of power. Yes, we can do some pretty cool things via Spirit, but there are limitations to what we can do. So, I can channel messages from Spirit, but you will always know your loved ones better than I will ever know them. And I think that's really important to talk about, which kind of goes on to another lady that I sort of saw yesterday as well. And the reason she booked in with me is she said that she'd been checking out my website, and she particularly was looking at the wording of my disclaimer. And she loved the fact that on my disclaimer, in big at the bottom, and it's on my website for anyone that wants to sort of check it out, I make a point of saying, I will not read for people if they've told me stuff about a loved one in the first instance, because the whole point of mediumship, I should be able to give you evidence and validation if that spirit loved one comes through. And I make it crystal clear on there, there's never any guarantee. Hence why we have to say by law, it's always for experimentation and entertainment purposes only. I cannot guarantee that your loved one will sit in on a session. And that was proven yesterday, because the same lady, she was so pleased to see that there was a realness with the wording and the terminology of my disclaimer. And that's why she felt connected to come to me. And she had a whole host of beautiful family members coming in that were giving lots of validation. There were names, there was dates, bits and pieces. But there was one person she wanted to connect with, and that person didn't come forward. And she really wanted to make a link with a brother. And that brother just was not able to step in. And I said, very matter of fact, I said, I'm sure he is there and I'm sure he is safe, but he's not linking in enough for me to have direct communication. So I said, I'm not going to say that I can feel him and get XYZ, because that isn't coming in like that. And I think it's so important as a medium that you keep your work real. Don't ever give a client false hope, because clients always come with expectations. Even when they say they don't, they always come with expectations, So I think my message really is, it's really important, like I say, not to accept bullshit. And sometimes as a reader, we have to lay down the foundations, because some people come in thinking it's going to be like a telephone call, and it's not going to be like that necessarily. It can be like that, but not always. So we have to sort of put down the sort of the boundaries as a reader and not accept any bullshit with the client. But at the same time, as clients, don't accept bullshit from readers. If you know in your heart, this doesn't sit well with me, this doesn't feel right, this doesn't feel good, don't take it on as yours. And don't ever be scared to say, I'm not comfortable with where this part of the session is going. Because I was so mortified and horrified to hear that lady had been sort of living in this sort of state of play, because I honestly don't feel somebody that loved her so much would tell her something like that. Now, I've had another situation recently which I wanted to talk to you about, which was a lady that came to me and she booked in on a Zoom session, and she knows that she's had quite an aggressive health journey and she's been diagnosed with a length of time, and she wanted me to look specifically into her health and medical versus holistic and a whole approach. But that's her knowing, owning that journey and instigating it. She's asking me, this is what I'm seeking from you. And I still said, even though we went through that journey, I said, I can never obviously replace medical advice. So whatever you have been told medically is obviously what you have to be aware of. But I said, we can absolutely look at it from a tarot perspective and from an energy point of view. But I said, I can never go against medical advice. I can never pretend to be doctor. I'm not going to take on that role. And she was so thankful that I kept it real. Moral compass every time. You keep your work real. And it would have been so easy for me if I'd have been disingenuous to have said certain things and to embellish and to really, I could have really played that to my own tune had I wanted to. But there's no benefit to being a dick. There's no benefit to being an arsehole. You do not empower someone's life by misinterpreting or abusing your position. And I suppose this is what it comes down to. There seems to be a lot of readers out there trying to play God or trying to sort of feel like they are superior. And words have power. This is why in witchcraft we call it spell casting, we call it spelling, making a spell, because words have magic, they carry power. And you've just got to be very mindful of, are you working completely ethically? And for those people out there that are amazing, keep doing your thing, keep being fabulous. But if you're one of these people that is a dodgy reader, or if you've been subjected to a dodgy reading, don't take it on as truth, because, you know, like I said at the beginning, you will know your loved ones better than a medium will ever know them. And would they really be telling you that? I know for a fact that if my if my mum and dad, if they passed over, they wouldn't tell me certain things. I know, matter of fact, what they would and what they wouldn't tell me. I just know. And I just find it interesting that people are using such wishy-washy stuff to try and thread and create a quick buck. And quite frankly, it pisses me off. And I've had people sit down in front of me and I've said, I can't read for you for X, Y, Z. Either I don't feel anything, or the situation hasn't been completely right, or whatever, you know? And keep it real. Just keep it real, because the world is a really hard place at the moment and we shouldn't be making it more difficult for people. Sometimes I've had people say to me, that was a really good reading. I haven't really gained anything new, but it validates what I already know. Well, that's great, because if it validates what you already know, that is actually huge confirmation that this is a screenshot, this is a snapshot of where life is for you at the moment and the various opportunities and paths that could open up for you. But again, we can't infringe on free will. You are always the driver of your own destination. You are always the driver of your own journey. And yeah, I just find it very, very frustrating as a medium trying to be ethical in my practice and in my work and honouring spirit in the best way. And it really gets my heckles up when I hear these horror stories and people just accept it as truth. And you shouldn't be accepting this as truth, because it's bullshit. It's not good enough. It's not good enough practice. Oh, sorry if you can hear my dog going crazy. It's just not, he's on one today. It's just not good enough practice. So it does really, really piss me off. So something to think about, you know. And the best types of reading, I think, are those where you go in with an open mind and an open heart and a very low bar of expectation. And then if you get a connection or something amazing, that's a win, that's a bonus. But sometimes when people go in with a shopping list of what they want, it's unrealistic and it's not necessarily going to happen that way. And that's when, as a reader, we sometimes have to, you know, pull apart those kind of blocks and say, this is what's going to happen, this is not reality, you know. So readings are very complicated, both for the reader and for the client, but both of us are governed by spirit when it comes down to it. Spirit is running the show. And if you're getting anything that's just coming in from a reader's own agenda, please don't take that on as yours, because it's absolute bullshit. And it, like I say, it just pisses me off. So that's my little cheeky waffle, that's my little rant. But I just think I need to put it out there, because this is becoming a common theme. And to me, this is very concerning that this seems to be a common theme of thread. So I'll leave it with you. I hope it resonates and makes a bit of sense. And keep shining bright. And yeah, look out for the ethical people and just know. Because there's a difference between quality over crap, really. So I'm going to leave it with you. Take care. Much love. Bye for now.